Albert Einstein said, "I have no special talent, I am only passionately curious." Remember when you were small, when the world was enormous and nothing made sense, but everything felt like an invitation? You didn't walk through your day, you wandered through it, touched the walls, followed shadows, asked questions without shame. Why is the sky blue? What's inside that box? How does the moon stay up? You weren't looking for answers. You were alive inside the asking. This was curiosity at full volume, pure, unfiltered, sacred. It wasn't strategy. It wasn't skill. It was instinct. And then slowly they trained it out of you. They told you to stop fidgeting, to stop wondering, to sit still and know the right answers. They rewarded correctness, punished the unknown. And somewhere along the way, your questions got quieter, not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped believing there was more to find. But what if that part of you is still alive? What if the most powerful force for change in your life isn't something new to learn, but something ancient to remember? Because here's the truth. History does not remember the indifferent. It remembers the curious. Because curiosity is the beginning of every transformation. It's what pushed a barefoot child named Abraham Lincoln to borrow books and read by candlelight, long before anyone thought he could lead a nation. It's what drove a failed car builder named Henry Ford to ask why cars couldn't be made cheaper, faster, better. It's what kept Einstein awake at night, not chasing greatness, but pursuing simplicity, beauty, truth. We hear that and smile, forgetting that this quiet obsession led to a theory that changed the structure of time and space. This isn't about being brilliant. It's about refusing to accept that the world is finished, that your limits are fixed, that your identity is final, because they are not. Curiosity is often dismissed as child's play, a soft skill, a wandering mind's indulgence, but it is, in fact, the seed of revolution. It's what moves you from where you are to where you could be. We're all born with it. It's baked into our bones, hardwired into the folds of our brain. Psychologists call this perceptual curiosity, the innate attraction to new sights, sounds, sensations. This is what drives a baby to reach for a candle's flame, what draws your eye to a flashing screen, a ringing phone, a breaking headline. But that kind of curiosity, fleeting, shallow, reactive, won't set you free. It distracts more than it delivers, and while it may entertain, it will not transform. To truly break through limits, you must evolve your curiosity. From reflex to ritual, from instinct to intention. This deeper form is called intellectual curiosity. It's the soul of all learning, the engine of all innovation, and it does not come easy. It requires effort, discipline, will. It's a choice you make, again and again, to turn toward the unknown, rather than away from it, to replace judgment with inquiry, to ask not only what, but why and why not. It's this kind of curiosity that built bridges, cured diseases, sent rockets to the moon. It's also the same force that saves marriages, mends broken families, rewrites personal destinies. Because curiosity is not just how we explore the world, it's how we expand within ourselves. In a society that idolizes certainty, curiosity is a quiet rebellion. It resists the false comfort of final answers. It asks better questions, and the quality of your life will always reflect the quality of your questions. Am I really stuck? Is this truly the end or just a pause? What if this pain has something to teach me? Curiosity makes even fear bend to its will, because when you're curious, fear loses its grip. You are no longer shrinking from the unknown. You are drawn toward it. It's not bravery that leads to growth. It's curiosity that leads to bravery. A curious person asks, what's behind this fear? And in doing so, makes the fear smaller. The unknown becomes less threatening, possibility becomes more vivid, and dopamine, the brain's reward signal, starts to flood your system. You feel alive, alert, engaged. Neuroscience confirms it. Curiosity rewires your brain. It strengthens your memory. It deepens your learning. It quiets anxiety by shifting focus from worry to wonder. It even expands your sense of time. When you're curious, you enter flow. Hours feel like minutes. Moments stretch into meaning, and life begins to feel limitless. So if curiosity has this kind of power, why do we let it fade? Why do we trade wonder for routine? Why do we stop asking questions the moment we become old enough to need them the most? Somewhere along the line, the world teaches us to prioritize answers over inquiry, to prefer being right over being real. We are rewarded for knowing, not for exploring. We are praised for certainty, not for seeking. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, we forget. We forget that curiosity is not just a childhood instinct. It is a life strategy, a survival tool, a spiritual compass pointing us forward when nothing else makes sense. To live curiously is to live deliberately. It is to break the loop of habit and enter the territory of possibility. And it's not just philosophical, it's practical. A curious mindset is the single most underrated tool for personal growth. It is what turns everyday moments into profound lessons. It transforms the mundane into the meaningful. Curiosity, at its deepest level, is not about gathering facts. It's about expanding the self. It's about leaning toward what you don't yet understand, within the world, within others, within yourself. And that leaning, over time, becomes a bridge from who you are to who you might become. There's a reason successful people in every field, science, art, business, relationships, seem to have this insatiable hunger to know more, not because they're never satisfied, but because they know satisfaction grows at the edge of the unknown. Curiosity is what lifts you from stagnation to transformation. It's not a personality trait. It's not something you either have or don't. It's a skill, a daily practice. The artist follows it into creation. The entrepreneur follows it into opportunity. The lover follows it into intimacy. The seeker follows it into truth. And the struggler, the one gasping for air beneath life's heaviness, finds in curiosity a rope, a way out, a whisper that says, this isn't the end. There's more to see, more to understand. Because curiosity refuses to let pain be wasted. It insists there is meaning behind the ache, wisdom beneath the mistake, a way through if not over. Curiosity is not weak. It's not whimsical. It is the quiet refusal to be finished. The world around us is layered with depth and possibility, but most people only skim the surface. Not because they don't care, but because they've never been taught to dive. Curiosity teaches us to dive, to go beneath opinions and find values, to move beyond reaction and find reflection, to look not just at what is, but at what could be. And when you live this way, curiously, you don't just survive life, you explore it, you shape it, you grow through it. Even your challenges change form, obstacles become invitations, setbacks become teachers, uncertainty becomes a portal. So the next time you feel stuck, don't ask, what's wrong with me? Ask, what's here for me to learn? That one shift, that one question, is how you begin to break through limits. Not by force, not by fear, but by following the thread of wonder that lives within you. What makes curiosity so powerful isn't just what it does to your spirit, it's what it does to your brain. You see, curiosity isn't just a mood, it's a neurological state, a biochemical ignition, a kind of internal alchemy that transforms your brain from passive to powerful. When you're curious, your brain rewards you. It releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter tied to pleasure, motivation, and addiction. That's right. Curiosity is its own form of high, and the best part? There's no crash, no regret, just expansion. You learn faster, you retain more, your mind lights up like a city at night. Studies show that when you're curious, your brain isn't just activated, it's optimized. Regions linked to memory, focus, and emotional regulation become supercharged. Even irrelevant information is more easily absorbed just because your mind is in a heightened state of readiness. This is no accident, it's how we're wired. Because survival has always favored the curious. The cautious survive the night, but the curious shape the future. And when curiosity is nurtured, the brain changes. It becomes more flexible, more adaptable. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. Curiosity stretches your mental muscles. It keeps your mind young. It builds cognitive reserves that protect you from decline. But perhaps most surprisingly, curiosity helps you heal. In moments of anxiety, your mind tends to spiral. It loops around problems, fears, imagined disaster, but curiosity breaks the loop. It shifts your focus away from worry and toward wonder. And in that shift, stress dissolves. The nervous system softens. You become less reactive, more centered, more alive. Because curiosity is presence. It is the opposite of distraction. It pulls you into the now, not to escape it, but to explore it. To ask, what is this moment teaching me, instead of, when will this moment end? And when you live in that question, truly live in it, you discover something remarkable, that every problem, every pattern, every so-called limit is not a wall. It is a doorway. But you must be willing to ask the right question. And that begins in the brain, in the chemistry of curiosity, in the electricity of wonder. This is why curious people don't age the way others do. They evolve, they stretch, they continue becoming, because the brain, like the soul, is not designed to be static. It's designed to be used. Not just for survival, but for seeking understanding, seeking growth, seeking truth. And when you seek, consistently, intentionally, joyfully, you change, not just what you know, but who you are. So what happens when you choose to live this way? When you stop treating curiosity as a luxury and start honoring it as a daily discipline, everything changes. Because curiosity doesn't just light up your brain, it reshapes your entire life. When you're curious, you'll learn faster. Not just facts, but insights. You begin to notice the hidden patterns in conversations, in your behavior, in your work. You stop sleepwalking. You stop recycling old thoughts. You begin to explore life as if it were new again. Because in a curious mind, nothing is taken for granted. Even failure becomes interesting. Why did that fall apart? What was I missing? What else could this mean? These are the kinds of questions that lead to mastery, to breakthrough. Curiosity doesn't just make you a better learner, it makes you more creative. Why? Because creativity is not a talent. It's the ability to see from a different angle, and curiosity is what gives you that angle. A curious mind is a flexible mind. It shifts, adapts, reframes, it plays with ideas, it connects dots others don't even see. This is why artists, entrepreneurs, and scientists all share the same trait. They ask more questions than they answer. They live in a state of open exploration, and from that openness, new solutions emerge, new ideas take shape, new futures begin to unfold. But curiosity doesn't just help you think better, it helps you relate better. When you're curious, you listen deeper. You pause before judging. You replace certainty with humility. Instead of assuming, you inquire. Instead of labeling, you explore. And in doing so, you build bridges. You become someone people want to open up to, someone they trust, not because you know everything, but because you care enough to learn. And that, more than anything else, strengthens relationships. Because people don't need you to be brilliant. They need you to be present, to wonder about them, to see them fully, and that begins with curiosity. But perhaps the most underrated benefit of curiosity is this: it makes you resilient. When you're curious, setbacks don't stop you, they intrigue you. You don't collapse under pressure, you examine it, you look it in the eye and ask, what is this here to teach me? You stop resisting life, you start investigating it, and that shift, that small but powerful shift, is what turns adversity into advantage. It's what turns pain into purpose. Because when you're curious, you're no longer the victim of life's events, you're the student of them. And that, above all else, is what makes you unstoppable. If curiosity can dismantle limits, what can it do for the space between us? The answer is simple: everything. We live in a divided world. Opinions clash like thunder, families split, communities fracture, strangers become enemies for believing differently, voting differently, living differently. But underneath the noise, something quieter is breaking. Connection. Not because we've lost the ability to talk, but because we've forgotten how to wonder. This is the cost of incuriosity. When we stop being curious about each other, we begin to dehumanize. We stop asking, "What's your story?" and start assuming, "I already know." But the moment you assume, you stop listening, and what dies in that silence is understanding. Curiosity, real, deep, open-hearted curiosity, is what brings it back. It's what lets us see past the surface and into the soul. To ask not just, "What do you believe?" but what led you there. To ask, what hurts have shaped you? Who have you loved? What are you afraid to lose? These are the questions that reconnect us, not to positions, but to people. There's a story of a professor, an Asian American, queer, spiritual liberal from Hawaii, who quit her job and traveled the country, not to lecture, but to listen. She visited churches, rallies, and towns where she expected to feel out of place. And yet what she found, beneath the slogans and signs, were humans, complex, layered, worthy of understanding. Not because they were right, not because she agreed, but because she got curious. And in that curiosity, she discovered the bridge. Not the kind made from compromise, but the kind forged by dignity. Because deep curiosity sees past identity and into humanity. It replaces us versus them with we. It doesn't mean agreement, it means acknowledgement. It doesn't soften conviction, it sharpens compassion. When you're deeply curious, you no longer see people as categories, you see them as stories. And every story, no matter how different, has echoes of your own. This is how we heal, not through shouting louder, but through asking better. Questions like, what do you value most? What's a belief you've changed your mind on? What do you hope for? These are not weak questions. They are powerful enough to rebuild trust, to revive marriages, to reconcile wounds we thought were permanent. But you must go first. You must get curious about others, and also about yourself. Why did that conversation trigger you? Why do you need to be right? What are you still carrying that no longer serves you? Curiosity is not just a tool for connection, it is the foundation of it. Because when you're curious, you're not trying to win, you're trying to understand. And that shift from winning to understanding is what makes space for something rare. Grace. Curiosity isn't magic, it's muscle, and like any muscle, it must be trained. Because the world doesn't encourage deep curiosity. It encourages reaction, distraction, speed. It says, scroll faster. Think less. Just pick a side. But if you want to rise above the noise, if you want to grow beyond the version of you that's safe and small, you must cultivate curiosity with intention. How? Begin with discomfort. The unknown will always feel strange, but curiosity thrives where comfort ends. You must learn to embrace that tension, to step into the unfamiliar and say, this feels scary, so let me look closer. Growth never happens in the familiar. Curiosity knows this, so it leads you toward the edge, toward the question you've been avoiding, the book you haven't opened, the person you've labeled and stopped listening to. The process is simple, but not easy. Detach. Let go of your assumptions, your biases, your need to be right. You are not your opinions. You are the awareness beneath them. Make it a daily practice. Fact-check your inner voice. Challenge the story you tell yourself about others. Catch your judgments and replace them with questions. Then, intend. Don't wait for curiosity to strike. Set the table for it. Before a tough conversation, ask yourself, what would a curious person ask here? Where can I listen more than I speak? Create space where curiosity feels safe. Silence the noise. Make room for the real. Next, value. See every person as worthy of being understood, not because you agree with them, but because you believe they are human, and that includes you. Stop beating yourself up for not knowing. Curiosity begins when shame ends. Asking yourself better questions. Instead of why am I like this, try what has shaped me into this. Finally, embrace. Welcome the hard moments, the awkward, the painful, the uncertain. When fear whispers run, let curiosity respond, what's here for me to learn? Get curious about your own emotions. Where do you feel tension? What memory does that anger come from? What's underneath the sadness? This is the path to emotional mastery, not repression, not explosion, but exploration. Because what we don't explore, we project, and what we don't examine, we repeat. But when you practice curiosity, deliberately, daily, you begin to transform. Judgment softens, certainty relaxes, presence deepens. You become not just smarter, but wiser, not just more informed, but more alive. Curiosity is not an escape from reality. It is the clearest way into it. You've made it this far, which means something inside you is already awake, already searching, already asking, and maybe that's the most important thing of all. Because the truth is, Life doesn't change when you get the right answer. It changes when you ask the right question. What else is possible? What else can I become? What else is waiting for me just beyond what I currently believe? These questions are not small. They're not theoretical. They are transformational. They don't just open doors. They dissolve walls. And that is what curiosity really is, a quiet rebellion against limitation, a soft defiance in a world obsessed with certainty. It is choosing to remain open when others have shut down, to lean in when others pull away, to wonder when others rush to conclude. Curiosity is not noise, it is signal, not chaos, but clarity. It reminds you that you are not done growing, that your future is not written in stone, that your mind, your body, your soul are still evolving. So do not fear the unknown. Make friends with it. Do not seek only answers. Fall in love with the process of seeking. Ask better questions. Live in the gap between what is and what could be. Become a student of your own unfolding. Because the most powerful breakthroughs aren't found at the end of a path, they're discovered on the way. So, starting today, become a practitioner of deep curiosity. Get quiet. Get present. Get uncomfortable. Ask why. Ask why not. Ask what if. Then listen. Then act. Then begin again. This is how you transform. Not in one leap, but in 1,000 small wonders. Because curiosity isn't a path you walk once. It is a rhythm you return to. A flame you feed, a way of being that makes life richer than you ever imagined. And the world, it needs more of that. More seekers, more listeners, more question askers, because those are the people who will change things, not with noise, but with vision, not with certainty, but with the courage to explore. So go now and ask the next question. That's where your freedom lives. That's where your limits end.